When it comes to monsters, we can classify them into two categories: the monsters themselves, which do not resemble humans, and the monster men, who have a human or semi-human form. Among the latter, those who share traits with animals or can transform into them stand out, such as bear men, panther men, jaguar men, and especially the wolf man. The latter, also known as a lycanthrope, has been an icon since the early 20th century. Before Universal Studios popularized it, the wolf had always been feared in Europe for its cunning and veracity, and its presence in large forests caused alarm and dread among scattered groups of people. Europe has been the place where the majority of werewolf cases have been documented, with more than 30,000 recorded incidents in France alone between 1520 and 1630. In this video, we will explore some of the most famous European werewolves who once existed in real life. The Livonian werewolf. Werewolf confessions could be quite peculiar. For example, Thies of Kaltenbrunn, a resident of what was then Swedish Livonia in the 17th century, was a clear example. Thies was widely believed among his neighbors to be a werewolf who had dealings with the devil. The local authorities paid him no attention. After all, Thies was over 80 years old. What harm could he cause with a few fantastical stories? However, when he was brought in for questioning on an unrelated matter in 1691, he willingly began disclosing details about his werewolf lifestyle, although with many inconsistencies. According to his account, Thies had renounced lycanthropy 10 years prior to appearing before the judges in 1691. Before that, he and other werewolves used to transform into wolves on St. Lucia's Day, on Pentecost, and on St. John's Eve, wearing magical wolf pelts. Although he later changed his story and said they stripped naked and became wolves. They would then roam the countryside, killing farm animals and cooking them to eat. When asked how wolves cooked meat, he stated that they remained human but not wolves. His story only grew stranger. He claimed that werewolves were agents of God, and that they traveled to hell to fight the devil and his witches, bringing back grains and livestock that the witches had stolen. In fact, he said he had done so only a year earlier, contradicting his earlier claim to have given up lycanthropy 10 years before. When it was revealed that Thies was not a devout Lutheran and in fact practiced a form of folk magic involving incantations and blessings, the judges ordered that Thies be severely punished and even banished. What happened to this strange individual afterward remains unknown, but his story, his confessions, the punishment, and the banishment are recorded in history books. The Beast of Gévaudan. In the 18th century, the former French province of Gévaudan was terrorized by a creature known as La Bête du Gévaudan, the Beast of Gévaudan. The first sighting of the beast occurred when a woman tending her cattle in the forest near Langon, in June of that year, spotted it. Although her bulls frightened the beast away, it soon returned to attack and claim the life of a 14-year-old girl. In the following months, sightings and attacks multiplied. Witnesses described the beast as a large wolf with red, unusual fur and black stripes, and it carried out many attacks. In 1765, King Louis XV of France ordered the state to help eliminate the beast. When the wolf hunters assigned to the task, Jean-Charles Marc-Antoine von Messel-Dianeval and his son Jean-François, failed to catch the beast, the king sent lieutenant of the hunt François Antoine in their place. Although Antoine managed to kill 3 gigantic gray wolves, the attacks continued. It was not until a local hunter named Jean Chastel shot a wolf on June 19, 1767, that the attacks ceased. Today it is believed that the Beast of Gévaudan was not a single wolf but many individual wolves. when France undertook an extermination campaign against these wolves. They were eliminated one by one until the attacks stopped, though the wolves responsible for these crimes were hardly common. According to historian Jean-Marc Morisseau, between 1362 and 1918, approximately 7,600 people were killed by wolves. In France, there is official historical documentation of these events. The Wolf of Ansbach. In 1685, a wolf spread terror and caused people's deaths in the town of Neuses, located in the Principality of Ansbach, in what is now Germany. While this was not uncommon, the town's chief magistrate, Michael Leicht, had just died. Leicht was known to be a cruel, unpopular man, and it was rumored that the wolf had visited his residence. Therefore, it was not difficult for people to claim that the wolf was, in fact, Leicht, who had returned in the form of a werewolf because of his sins. The wolf's death was not very remarkable. The inhabitants organized a hunt, chased the wolf into a well, and killed it. However, what they did with its body was quite gruesome. They paraded it through the streets and then prepared it for display. They did horrible things to the poor animal and dressed it in human clothes. They placed a wig on its head and a mask on its face to make it look like Leicht, then displayed its body in the town's main square for everyone to see. After some time, the wolf's corpse was removed and permanently exhibited in a local museum. Of course, there's nothing strange or creepy about that. It's simply true. The Werewolf of Alleries. The case of the Werewolf of Alleries is one of the most intriguing in Spain and dates back to the 19th century, with Manuel Blanco Romasanta as the central figure of this story. Widely regarded as Spain's first serial killer, Romasanta is peculiar in the world of werewolves because his criminal activity took place in the late first half of the 19th century. What makes Romasanta even more peculiar is his life story. Born in 1809, he was raised as a girl until doctors discovered his true gender around age 6. After growing up, marrying, and working as a tailor, his life took a dark turn. Following the death of his wife in 1833, he became a traveling salesman, guiding people through Spain and Portugal. Romasanta's first crime was killing a bailiff from Leon named Vicente Fernandez in 1844. Fernandez's body was found after he tried to collect a debt from Romasanta. Rather than face justice, Romasanta fled to Portugal. During his time there, he killed several people who had hired him as a guide. However, his reckless actions gave him away. Romasanta was seen selling clothes, and soon rumors spread that he made soap with human fat. He was arrested after a complaint was filed against him. During his trial, Romasanta confessed to having committed 13 crimes. But here's where his story becomes even more sinister. He claimed he was cursed with lycanthropy, yet when asked to prove his ability to transform, Romasanta stated that the curse had already passed and no longer afflicted him. Despite this, he was acquitted of 4 of the murders because forensic examinations showed they had been committed by real wolves. However, he was found guilty of the rest. A phrenological exam by doctors concluded that he had made up the story of his curse, and he was sentenced to death. This sentence was commuted to life imprisonment at the request of a French hypnotist, who believed that Romasanta suffered from a delusion and asked that his execution be stayed so he could be studied. According to an 1863 newspaper, Romasanta died in prison that same year from stomach cancer. The Werewolf of Bedburg. The case of Peter Stump is one of the most infamous related to the legend of werewolves. Stump, a wealthy farmer, was accused of being responsible for multiple killings and literally feeding on human beings. He was also accused of being a werewolf in the Rhine region in 1589. The events leading to Stump's arrest were marked by horrors in the rural town of Bedburg. They began with the slaughter of all the animals in the herd. Soon after, the bodies of townspeople also began to be found in the fields. It was suspected that one or more wolves were to blame, but the creatures managed to evade capture. Finally, in 1589, a group of hunters managed to corner the wolf with their dogs. However, when the hunters approached, instead of a wolf, they found Stump among the hounds. The most convincing piece of evidence was that both Stump and the wolf had lost their left hand and left forepaw, respectively. This coincidence led people to conclude that the wolf and the man were one and the same. Stump confessed under torture, which raises doubts about the validity of his statement. He claimed to have made a pact with the devil at age 12 and received a magic belt that allowed him to transform into a wolf. He confessed to committing terrible crimes, including the killing of children and women, mutilating corpses, and committing all sorts of atrocities, even against his own children. His punishment was extremely brutal. He was sentenced to extreme torture, so severe that his limbs were ripped off to prevent him from rising from the grave. Finally, his head was placed outside the town to warn any new werewolves what would happen if they entered Bedburg. The truth behind the crimes attributed to Stump remains questionable. At a time of political and religious upheaval, his execution was convenient for Catholic interests, as it allowed them to seize his wealth and send a message to other Protestants in the region. And that was 5 real encounters with werewolves of ancient Europe. If you liked the video, please give it a like, comment, and subscribe by activating the bell for more videos like this. I'm Robinson Fowler, a writer of horror and fiction, and I wish you sweet dreams.